If you're an artist or a singer-songwriter, then one of the absolute most fundamental things that you need to be concerned with is keeping your listeners' attention all the way throughout your song. When you're songwriting and working with a producer, then this should be one of the main things that you are focused on, because there is a direct correlation between keeping your listeners engaged throughout the entire song and your success as an artist. Engaged listeners will add your music to their Spotify playlist, they'll search for more of your music, and if you do a good job, then they will eventually become fans who will buy tickets to your shows, they'll buy your merch, and they'll also spread the word about you to all of their friends. In this video, we're going to talk about one super effective but very simple way that you can keep people listening to your music all the way through. Now, obviously, there's a lot more that goes into an engaging song and holding listeners' attention, but those will be covered in other videos on this channel. But right now, we're focusing on song transitions. I'm going to show you 3 different ways that you can transition from one section of your song to another that will help keep your song flowing, keep it exciting, and ultimately draw people's attention in and keep them listening. Let's get going. Okay, so the first song transition we're going to talk about is one that I like to call the stop or the impact transition. Take a listen to this and then we'll discuss it afterwards. So, as you heard, that song was coming out of the verse into the chorus, and there was an audible stop just before the chorus hit. The reason that I like this one is because it makes your listener pay attention. If the song is just on in the background, or maybe they're walking or they're at the gym and they're just listening to a song, they might kind of zone out a little bit, and that's fine, that's completely normal, but having something like that can just kind of wake them up and it can make them start paying attention again. And having that stop is a really effective way of doing that. And I've got another example of this to show you in a country song.
We were best friends like no other. You're the sun in the sky above us. You know I gotta have you and no one else. And all the like the squint in your eye when you're wearing a lens.
Exactly the same concept. The verse is really nice and chilled, but having that stop, everything just drops out, and then the chorus hits. Make sure everything's tight, and it can really, really help get your listeners' attention back focused and just hold it throughout the next section of your song. Okay, the second song transition I'm going to talk about is one that I like to call the build. This is different to the stop/impact because there isn't a stop. However, there is a clear, audible build up from one section to another. And this one's all about dynamics. You want the next section that's coming to be bigger, to be louder, to just be more. There wants to be a payoff for the listener. And so building up to that section can be a really good way and a really effective way of doing that. It kind of builds anticipation. Let's take a look at this next example. This is a pop rock song.
But it's not so easy. Everything around me spinning. Now I'm going after you. And I'm sure you've heard it all before.
So coming out of that verse into the chorus, there is a very, very clear build. You've got the drums that are building up. It switches from doing a beat on the hat, snare, kick to building up on the floor tom on the snare. You've also got the electric guitars that come in just towards the end, which is going up in pitch, which gives the illusion of it building up. And then you've got a noticeable volume increase when the chorus hits. So that's a really good example of a build, and it just helps lift your listener into that next section. Let's take a listen to another example of one of these. This is a softer pop rock track.
You shut me down like everyone that comes your way. You slam the door right in their face. Now I know it's nothing personal. You're just so unpredictable, but I guess that's what I signed up for. 'Cause when I look in your eyes, it comes as no surprise that
This is another similar example of a build into the chorus. We've got the drums playing an important part on the toms, which then goes into a drum fill to lead us into the chorus. The vocals also play an important part here as well, because you notice that the singer starts singing in a higher register, higher pitch, and if you listen to that full track, the melody is different in this verse to the first one as well, which can also help keep things fresh and exciting, but it also just gives that illusion of lift into the chorus as well. Okay, the third song transition you can have is the pre-chorus or the bridge. This is where you have a completely new section that's different to the verse that helps to bridge the gap between the verse and the chorus, or section A and section B, as we'll call it. Let's take a listen to this song. It's called Meteorites. It's by a brand new band called Sugar Lakes. Take a listen to the pre-chorus.
I'm here chasing you, and I don't know why. No, if I call, would you pick up the phone if I fall? And would you catch me? The stars in your eyes, they light up the sky. We're falling together like a meteorite.
This is a really effective example of using a pre-chorus. The pre-chorus is noticeably bigger than the verse, but it's smaller than the chorus. It just helps to lead us and take us on a journey almost. The verse is quite light and jumpy with the acoustic guitar strums, but that changes to more longer sustained strums in the pre-chorus, which leads us really, really nicely to the chorus. Let's take a listen to another pre-chorus example.
Clutching at the cardboard straws, but they're melting on me. All of my choices led me to here. So many voices, but nothing is clear. What if I turn left instead of right? What if I said yes with...
So this is another really, really clever example of using a pre-chorus that is different to the verse, also different to the chorus, but familiar enough that it kind of takes us on that journey from section A to section B. This is a song called Jack. It's by a singer-songwriter called Kerry Fuller, and one of the things that really stands out to me in this song is that the pre-chorus goes to the minor second. So this song is in A, but the pre-chorus starts on B minor, which is also the starting chord for the chorus. We don't hear that chord elsewhere. We don't hear it in the verse. It's kind of alternating between A and D. But then bringing that B minor in for the pre-chorus just helps us kind of guide the listener on that journey to where the chorus is going. We've also got a couple of other elements in there as well. We've got a build, which we talked about too. We've got the drum fill. We also go from single time the drums to double time, which is a really, really great way of kind of giving the illusion of picking up the pace. And we've also got a noticeable jump in volume from the verse to the pre-chorus to the chorus as well. We're bringing in more elements, more guitars. But the arrangement just works really, really well. So those are 3 ways that you can transition from one section of your song to another in ways that will hold your listeners' attention and keep them engaged throughout your song. If you're a singer-songwriter or you're an artist and you're trying to build your fan base, this is the number one goal. You need to get listeners of your music, but there's no good having thousands and thousands of people that listen to your music only to switch it off after the first 30 seconds or minute. That can actually end up doing more harm than good. Now, obviously, there's a lot more that goes into writing a song than just simply transitioning from one section to another. This is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. And songwriting absolutely is an art. However, there has to be structure in order to make sure that our song is the best that it possibly can be, because that is what is going to translate to more listeners. That will then translate to more engaged listeners and ultimately more fans and more success for you as an artist. Now, to help you with all of that, I've put together a songwriter's checklist. This goes through absolutely everything that I go through with every single one of my clients before we even hit the record button. We have to make sure that everything about the song, from the lyrics to the structure to the arrangement to the transitions, all of that is absolutely nailed in first, because all of that is what is going to make a great song, and that is what is going to make people want to listen to your song, hit the repeat button, add it to the playlist, and ultimately that translates to success for you as an artist. And you can download that songwriter's checklist completely free. The link is in the description below. Enjoy.